Hello and welcome. Tonight, House summons Minister of State for Petroleum Oil and Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited over the current fuel scarcity being experienced in the country. Senate in rowdy session over sitting arrangement as plenary resumes in newly renovated chamber after 6 weeks of recess. And University of Benin suspends student union government over attack on Labour Party governorship candidate Olumide Akpata.
On business news tonight, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria threatened to halt supply of petroleum products over alleged non-payment of bridging claims.
On sports news tonight, Real Madrid fights back to hold Bayern Munich to a 2-2 draw in a thrilling UEFA Champions League semi-final first leg clash.
State has passed a resolution to invite the Minister of State for Petroleum Oil and the Managing Director of the NNPCL over the fuel scarcity being experienced in the country. This follows a motion of urgent national importance by Honorable Umar Ajilo. Meanwhile, the House is asking the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission to suspend the implementation of its new tariff. Our National Assembly correspondent Terry Kumi reports.
After 2 years of renovation, the Green Chamber wears a new look. Lawmakers are all smiles as they return for their first plenary session in over a month. The Speaker welcomes his colleagues with a speech. While he acknowledges the current economic and security challenges in the country, he highlights the plan by the House to boost its effectiveness and relationship with their constituents.
June 2024 marks a significant milestone, the 25th anniversary of Nigeria's return to democracy and uninterrupted legislative governance. In celebration of this historic occasion, I'm pleased to announce the inaugural House Open Week, scheduled for June 2024. House Open Week will provide an exceptional opportunity for elected representatives to engage directly with the citizens we serve, discuss their concerns, and share insights into our legislative work.
Next, the House considers a motion of urgent national importance on the fuel scarcity being experienced in parts of the country.
On the House to combine the Minister of Petroleum Resources and all relevant stakeholders in the petroleum industry to adhere to this chamber to bring Nigeria to the middle plate in this current oil scarcity and avoid the current.
Another matter of urgent national importance considered is the hike in electricity tariff. The House resolves to ask the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission to suspend the increase. The House also resolves to set up a special committee to organize a hearing on the price regulation of the Nigerian electricity supply industry. The Speaker at a summit organized by the House last week had said he would sponsor a bill to ensure proper processes and consultation in increasing tariffs in the country. The House has now adjourned for a week. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the management of the Kaduna refinery has given assurances that the rehabilitation work at the refinery will be completed by December this year. This was revealed by the managing director of the company, Mr. Mustafa Sungugun, during an oversight visit by the Senate Committee on Petroleum Downstream to the Kaduna refinery.
The Kaduna refinery was established in 1980 to supply petroleum products to Nigeria's northern region, with the capacity of producing 110,000 barrels of crude oil per day. For many years, the Kaduna refinery, just like its counterparts in Warri and Port Harcourt, has been out of production, leaving the country to rely heavily on imported petroleum products. The last turnaround maintenance on Kaduna refinery, according to official sources, was carried out about 16 years ago. In August 2021, the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari approved the contract for the rehabilitation of the Kaduna and Warri refineries at a combined cost of $1.5 billion, while work commenced at the Kaduna refinery in 2023. Members of the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Downstream, led by its chairman, Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, are at the refinery to assess the progress of work so far under the Quick Fix project.
The important point is mainly
the managing director of Kaduna Refinery, Mustapha Sagungun, takes the senators through the rehabilitation processes.
currently we are heading toward 40% of the RAB, and that is well at the top above the plan. We remain committed to bringing back at least 60% of our nominal capacity by December 31st.
Noting that we have the crude oil and we have these institutions, these refineries, we see no reason why Nigeria will continue to depend on imported petroleum products.
From the boardroom of the refinery, the senators take a tour of the production plant to assess the level of work being handled by the contractor.
It's not as business as usual, where money will be budgeted and then you won't see activities. We can see the expatriates, we can see spare parts coming. We are taking note of them, assurances of when timeline when things will be done.
We know that the last time was 16 years ago, so we braced ourselves for all of the challenges we're seeing. If there are challenges, there are challenges that are not peculiar to the refinery.
Despite the assurances from the management of the Kaduna Refinery on completing the work by the end of this year, 2024, a member of the Senate Ad Hoc Committee, Senator Osita Izunazo, queries the economic viability of the turnaround maintenance.
Even the issue of turnaround maintenance, we have to review it. I don't think it's a good policy. We have to get back to the companies that build the refineries, because there's usually an agreement, a contract, for you to service anything that you have built.
Nigeria is currently facing fuel scarcity that has caused hardship nationwide. The Senate committee believes there is an urgent need to get the refineries back on stream for the nation's economic prosperity and energy security.
Back to the National Assembly. After 6 weeks of recess, the Senate has resumed a plenary in the freshly renovated chamber, which had been closed for over 2 years. Our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Umezoke, reports that shortly after the announcements by the President of the Senate, a heated argument ensued between 3 senators over the sitting arrangement in the renovated chamber.
Weeks after lawmakers went on recess, they resumed plenary in a different atmosphere, converging on the once familiar space, the newly renovated hallowed chamber, which had been undergoing renovations since 2022. The lawmakers had barely settled in when a slight commotion was observed, just as the President of the Senate read out some announcements.
The victories.
The bickering continued among Senator Yel from Zamfara North, the leader of the Senate, Kwemi Bamidele, and Senator Danjuma Goje, who had joined the fray. For about 20 minutes, they poured out their displeasure over the seats allocated to them as ranking senators. Eventually, the President of the Senate called the grieving parties to approach the chair. After dousing the tension, he managed to read his welcome speech.
Both the Senate and the House of Representatives must collaborate and cooperate and provide the wings for the entirety of the National Assembly to fly and lift Nigerians out of the current quagmire. We must at all times collaborate, working together with the other arms of government, talking about the executive and the judiciary, without compromising our constitutional duties in order for our democracy to thrive.
Senator Akpabio continues with a reminder to his colleagues to implement a culture of care and courage while building consensus on ways to combat widespread poverty, among other issues.
Let us pool our resources, our talents, our ideas, whilst respecting our differences and convictions of conscience. At the same time, let us not forget those trapped in the cycle of poverty. Our fight against poverty and hunger must be total and relentless. The Nigerian people have placed their trust in us, and it is our duty to honor that trust.
It was a much calmer atmosphere hours after the closed-door session as the Senate observed a minute's silence in honor of the former Senate spokesperson, Senator Ayogu Eze, who passed recently at the age of 66. The Senate adjourns plenary till May 7 to allow more time to conclude renovation work in the chamber. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
To the courts now, and Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court in Abuja has struck out 2 suits seeking the nullification of the ward congresses held by the People's Democratic Party in Edo State on February the 4th this year. In 2 separate judgments, Justice Ekwo held that the plaintiffs lacked the required locus standi to file the suits. Justice Ekwo held that the plaintiffs did not show how their personal interests were affected by the conduct of the ward congresses for which they sought nullification. The first suit was filed by Adizetu Hamoru, and the second was filed by Moses Alabi. Meanwhile, the management of the University of Benin has approved the indefinite suspension of the university's student union government. A statement by the university registrar, Ademola Bobola, says the suspension was in connection with the attack on the Edo State Labour Party governorship candidate, Olumide Akpata, by some students believed to be members of the student union on April the 12th this year. The statement added that the suspension took effect from Monday, April the 29th. The statement reads in part, quote, "The university management has received the report of a panel constituted to investigate the incidents that occurred in the Faculty of Law and the university's senior staff club on Friday, April the 12th, 2024. After due consideration of the report by the management, the Vice-Chancellor has approved the suspension of the university's students' union," end quote. The university has also approved a caretaker committee representing the various faculties to coordinate the activities of the students during the period of the suspension. Ahead of the November governorship election in Ondo State, the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, has declared its intention to unseat the All Progressives Congress, APC, in the state. A Bayelsa State Deputy Governor, Mr. Lawrence Erujakbo, who served as the returning officer for the Ondo State primaries, asked members to do everything within their powers to ensure victory at the polls for the party and its candidate, Mr. Ajayi Agbola. He was speaking during the presentation of the certificate of return to the party's governorship candidate in Abuja.
The National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party presents the certificate of return to the party's candidate in the forthcoming governorship election in Ondo State, Mr. Ajayi Agbola. Mr. Agbola, a former deputy governor of Ondo State, was declared candidate of the PDP after defeating 11 other contestants in the primaries. This initial victory, however, comes with huge responsibilities for the candidate.
We should stretch our hand to the child who is about to walk and clap for him, say he is encouraged to walk and run in the future. I say this because there is a need for us to close the rank. And so the objective is we must win Ondo by every means. Those who have spiritual means, make them available. Those who have financial means, make them available. Those who have political means, have them available. Those who have academic means, have them available. So that together we shall achieve Ondo to our party.
However, the task of winning Ondo State will not come easy for the PDP, especially because of the fallout from the just concluded primaries. There's also some disaffection within the party, needing urgent reconciliation.
You have a daunting task for you. Don't see that most of your co-contestants have conceded to you. You need to do much to also bring them on board to come and complete this exercise.
This election is the defining moment for us. It is about all of us coming together to chart a new course for Ondo State.
The PDP lost power to the All Progressives Congress in Ondo State 8 years ago. And for many PDP members in the state, the November election provides another opportunity for the party to return to power.
In part two, after the break, Northern Governors Forum resolved to explore state policing models built on the foundation of cooperation and collaboration among the 19 states of the region. Please stay with us. Labour Party governorship candidate of Edo State, Olumide Akpata. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will launch an invasion of the southern Gaza city of Rafah regardless of truce talks with Hamas. Back at the courts in Justice Inyang Ekwo, the Federal High Court in Abuja has set May the 30th as the date for delivering a ruling on the bail plea lodged by Bello Bodejo, the detained head of the Mieti Allah Kautahore group. Bodejo faces allegations of unlawfully founding an ethnic militia group which is aimed at fostering terrorism and has remained in the custody of the Defense Intelligence Agency in Abuja. During the bail application proceedings, Bodejo's legal representative, Ahmed Raji, appealed to the court to grant bail to his client, citing various reasons such as ill health and the protection of fundamental rights. Conversely, the federal government, represented by its legal counsel, urged the court to deny Bodejo's bail request, citing concerns that the charges against him pose a threat to national security. So let's head to the nation's capital now, and Gloria Umezoke is standing by to give us the very latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Gloria.
Well, many thanks, Ayo. We turn attention now to insecurity. As the nation continues to battle with the protracted challenge, the Northern Governors Forum has resolved to explore state policing models that are built on the foundation of cooperation and collaboration amongst the 19 states in the region. The chairman of the forum, Governor Inuwa Yahaya of Gombe State, who made the assertion at the opening session of the Northern Governors meeting holding in Kaduna State, reaffirms the willingness of the Northern Governors to work with the federal government to provide lasting solutions to the security challenge bedeviling the region. Meanwhile, the host governor, Senator Uba Sani, is asking his colleagues to come up with a common regional strategy to tackle insecurity through the establishment of an operational center.
Governors of the 19 northern states arriving at the Sir Kashim Ibrahim House in Kaduna for a crucial meeting. This is the first time the governors are meeting this year after their inaugural meeting in December 2023. Present here are the governors of Kaduna, Gombe, Borno, Nasarawa, Bauchi, Jigawa, Plateau, Zamfara, Katsina, Kebbi, and the deputy governors of Yobe, Sokoto, and Kano states. Top on the agenda of the meeting are the issues of insecurity ravaging the north, the high level of poverty and literacy levels. Other issues are human capital development and regional integration, considered major keys for the development of the northern region.
Human will make our joint efforts. It is important that we begin to explore state policy models that are built on the foundation of cooperation and collaboration amongst our northern states. Economic development is paramount to our region's security. In this regard, the revitalization of the new Nigeria Development Company, NNDC, is at the heart of our economic agenda for northern Nigeria.
On the courtesy call, the Executive Committee and Board of Trustees of the Arewa Consultative Forum, as well as the coalition of northern groups, who made their presentations on how to tackle the region's challenges.
We have briefed the governors on a report that we generated after extensive consultations of over 6 months with all stakeholders across northern Nigeria, and came up with certain recommendations on how to solve the insecurity problem in northern Nigeria.
We see light at the end of the tunnel. We believe that after this deliberation, definitely insecurity in northern Nigeria will be a thing of history. We will restore not only security in northern Nigeria, but unity, peace, and harmony.
The northern region of Nigeria currently faces the challenges of having the highest number of out-of-school children, which significantly contributes to the security issues in that area. Consequently, there is an expectation that the Northern Governors Forum will not only talk, but also take action by addressing various human, infrastructure, and environmental challenges.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, says a trend of low tax revenue and unstable oil revenue portends a major risk to Nigeria's fiscal sustainability. Honorable Abbas stated this during the opening session of a two-day retreat for members of the House of Representatives on economic transformation and development in Abuja. Our correspondent, Kumbi Aboluwade, reports.
This is the first day of a two-day retreat organized for members of the House of Representatives to deliberate on legislative strategies for economic transformation. This retreat is designed to facilitate comprehensive discussions on strategies to drive tax reforms, as well as the Petroleum Industry Act PIA 2021, with focus on the role of the legislature in implementing the act.
Lawmaking is dynamic, and the PIA should be seen as a foundation to build upon. It is important to use this retreat to consider avenues to improve the legislation further, to ensure it incentivizes more foreign direct investments, that is FDI, in Nigeria's oil and gas sector.
The chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mr. Zach Adedeji, who was represented, believes driving tax reforms and achieving an efficient tax system requires legislative support and collaboration from critical stakeholders.
By harnessing the powers of effective tax reforms and modernization initiative, we have the potential to transform our economy, empower our citizens, and build a resilient future for the next generation.
Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, is concerned about the impact of low tax revenues coupled with unstable oil revenue on Nigeria's fiscal sustainability.
Nigeria's efficiency in collecting value-added tax is the lowest among its African peers, indicating significant inefficiencies in its tax system. This trend of low tax revenue, coupled with a continued dependency on the increasingly unstable oil revenue, present a major risk to Nigeria's fiscal sustainability.
The President, Bola Tinubu, who was represented by his Chief of Staff, told the participants to work at sustaining the synergy between the executive and legislature in order to deliver democratic promises and surmount challenges grappling the nation.
The oil and gas industry has long been the lifeblood of our national economy. However, we are also determined to maximize revenue potential from this critical industry. For this reason, Mr. President says that we are pushing policies to attract investment in the oil and gas sector.
It's expected that at the end of these two-day retreats, a clear roadmap is carved out for legislative and oversight roles in the implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 in order to maximize its potentials. From the nation's capital, Kumbi Aboluwade, Channels Television News.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mr. Mohammed Idris, is soliciting for budget increase to enable the ministry effectively fulfill its responsibilities to Nigerians and promote peace and stability in the country. The minister made this request during a meeting with the National Assembly Committee on Information and National Orientation held at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja.
I know that the effort that the honorable members of the committee are still doing, and I also know that the executive is also looking into the issue of the Pyramids of Information and National Orientation to ensure that we get the appropriate funding that we require to transform this very critical sector. Now, you recall that the President has renamed the Ministry of Information and Culture to Ministry of Information and National Orientation. Now, the emphasis here is not just on information, but it's also on national orientation. National orientation is a very critical thing that we all need so that we can reposition this country for the better. The agency under our ministry, that is the National Orientation Agency, is a very critical agency to give this country the desired rebirth that it requires so that we can have a transformative journey that will lead us to the kind of prosperity that all of us desire. Although this funding is not yet available, we are doing our best within the resources available to ensure that we have promptly informed Nigerians and also trying to enlighten them on all aspects that require their attention.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria threatens to halt supply of petroleum products over alleged non-payment of bridging claims. But that's on Business News. Please join us again.
Welcome back. A private sector partnership and policy engagement are essential pillars for advancing food security in Africa. This formed part of the submissions of agriculture and food system experts at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, Ibadan, during a forum that targets agribusiness as the driver for food security in Oyo State. The Oyo State Governor, Seyi Makinde, reiterated his commitment to making the state a modern agribusiness hub in sub-Saharan Africa, just as he promised to give more support to farmers in the state.
It's a day of robust engagement among agribusiness experts and players, including investors, large-scale farmers, and others in the agriculture value chain. Among them is former President Olusegun Obasanjo, being hosted here at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA Ibadan, by the Oyo State government, with the goal of defining the future of agriculture for human survival and as a lifeline for profitable business. For Governor Seyi Makinde, the forum became necessary to pull resources together with the private sector with a view to enhancing the agri value chain for maximum impact.
We can only achieve agricultural development by attracting large investment in agriculture. To get these investors interested in our state, we needed to provide supporting infrastructure. So Fashola is the success story today because we provided the primary infrastructure required. We built 4-stage factories within the hub, provided security, and are working on meeting the energy needs of the industries there. However, to achieve the level of food security we envisage, more is required.
In his address, former President Obasanjo, who is also an honorary ambassador of IITA, says the role of agribusiness in the future of the country cannot be overemphasized.
We must join forces, leveraging our collective strengths and resources to develop holistic strategies and solutions to deploy innovation that exists in research institutes like IITA. Together, we can pool resources and insights to develop comprehensive and creative solutions that address the complex interplay of factors affecting food security.
Earlier, in his welcome address, the Director General of IITA, Dr. Simeon Ehui, gives insight into the engagement.
Climate change, population growth, rapid population growth, and socio-economic disparities underscore the urgent need to innovative solutions and collaborative action. The Agribusiness for Food Security initiative is our collective response to these challenges, aiming to harness the power of agribusiness and partnerships to create resilient, inclusive, and thriving food systems.
The necessity of infrastructure development in achieving food security is also listed as critical.
I mean, the federal government has a role to play in agriculture. Their role is about policy. They should continue to work on policy. They should continue to look at how we can align, agriculture within the whole ecosystem of development in Nigeria.
For the Oyo State government, the Fashola Agri Hub, situated in Oyo Town, is a successful prototype of how agribusiness should operate. And this agribusiness forum is also positioned to attract more investment from private sector into Oyo State. Bukola Oriowo, Channels Television News.
His Love Foundation, the corporate social responsibility arm of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, says for the less privileged in our society to have the needed support, everyone must work together. This formed the main points of submissions as the foundation, which has invested over 70 billion naira in enriching lives in the last 5 years, hosts the first edition of the HLF International CSR Conference in Lagos.
This is the first edition of the International CSR Conference put together by His Love Foundation, the corporate social responsibility arm of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. And present here are members of the HLF, partners, and children drawn from different schools in Lagos State.
It's important for businesses seeking capital.
With the theme, Driving Collaboration for Sustainable Development, the conference seeks to signpost the need for religious and other bodies to work together towards common goals.
We cannot aim to tackle the complex issues we face in our world alone. It's the understanding that by pooling our talents...
As you see what the foundation is doing, you're seeing how they're using them.
From submissions here, it is clear that with the right partnership, a lot could be achieved.
Without those collaborations and without those partnerships, we won't be able to do any work, whether it's on the public side, whether it's on the private side. So for the programs that, His Love Foundation runs, I think it's right up our street, and we are open to those partnerships.
Government is making efforts, and I want to really appreciate in a very special way His Love Foundation for all they have done and what they are still doing to ensure that our children, they don't just go hungry.
In the last 5 years, HLF has imparted millions of people in need, providing food, medical interventions, and educational assistance.
You look at the data, it's not just the money. The money is a small part of it. You look at the lives they've impacted, the schools they've impacted, the prisons they've impacted, the health they've impacted. Look at the communities. Their efficiency in creating and making an impact is huge.
The government can do everything. So I believe that a lot of NGOs need to emulate what we are doing. Maybe not on the scale. On whatever scale you have, just do it. And if everybody lights their corner, the whole nation will be transformed.
The 2024 His Love Foundation International CSR Conference opens an opportunity for corporate bodies, religious organizations, and individuals to work together for the benefit of mankind, particularly the less privileged in the society.
The chairman of Dangote Sugar Refinery PLC, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, has assured shareholders and partners of the company's resolve to actualize the objective of Dangote Sugar for Nigerian project. Now, the plan, is tailored towards the attainment of sugar self-sufficiency for Nigeria, with an annual production of 1.5 million metric tons of sugar from locally sourced materials. Alhaji Dangote stated this during the company's 18th annual general meeting in Lagos, where he also announced the group's turnover of 441.5 billion naira in 2023.
The 18th annual general meeting of Dangote Sugar Refinery PLC holds on the heels of global economic uncertainties. However, optimism is high as members of the board and shareholders meet to examine the 2023 annual report and accounts. The Dangote Sugar for Nigeria project is a major talking point at the meeting as shareholders seek update on the plan of the company to produce 1.5 million metric tons of sugar annually through its backward integration projects.
We'll be able to make this 1.5 in the next 4 years, or maximum worst case 5 years. 700,000 that we've taken is almost 50% of the consumption. We are not the only ones to make Nigeria self-sufficient, but on our part, we are committed to making sure that we have 50% of the consumption, to be produced by us.
Key indices in the financial statements of the 2023 annual reports and accounts indicate that the company is still on a path of profitability despite the challenges in the business environment. For instance, the company recorded a group turnover of 441.5 billion naira in 2023, a 9.5% increase over the 403 billion naira in the previous year.
You have already seen that impact of the foreign exchange was very high, although operationally we are good. Our gross profit was good, operations profit were good, but because of the foreign exchange, all the performance has been affected adversely. So we hope that going forward, this change of the focus on the BIP will have a lot of positive impact going forward.
I'm expecting more capital appreciation and dividend for the future, because we shareholders, why we are investing in our equities or in the equities, one, capital appreciation and dividend for the future.
The company says its commitment to the achievement of continued growth, building sustainable business and the socio-economic development of host communities remain unwavering.
Time now for some business news with Melinda Akilami.
Many thanks, Ayotunde. Welcome to Business News. The chairmen of oil depots have threatened to halt supply of petroleum products over alleged non-payment of bridging claims. They told journalists in Abuja today that they have the backing of the national leadership of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN. According to the group, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission is owing them 200 billion naira and have failed to comply with the directive of the Petroleum Minister Oil, Mr. Heineken Dokobri, to pay them. The IPMAN depot chairman claimed that since the directive by the minister in February, only 13 billion naira has been paid to their members out of 40 billion naira. Meanwhile, major oil marketers in the country are assuring Nigerians that the current fuel shortages leading to long queues at filling stations will be resolved this week. The managing director of NNPC Retail Limited and chairman, Major Energies Marketers Association of Nigeria, made this known during a press briefing in Lagos today.
There's 300 million liters coming into shore into our depots this week, which is much more than we normally get. We also tomorrow, we keep on loading extended in our depots, and tomorrow we're loading, although it's an official bank holiday, and we will keep on loading over the weekend. So my full expectation is that with this volume coming in and us extending our loading times at our depots and having tomorrow and working tomorrow through a bank holiday, that we should see the queues in Lagos going down in maybe already tomorrow, but at least before the end of the week.
The issue of fuel scarcity taking its toll on motorists and Nigerians' livelihood. The impact has also trickled down to commodity prices, sending them to fresh highs. Renowned economist and chief executive officer of financial derivatives company, Mr. Bismarck Iwani, who was a guest on our Business Morning program earlier today, explained that the challenge of fuel supply is caused by the issue of logistics, which is an indictment on the part of the government.
So it is an indictment on the Nigerian government, on the Nigerian NNPC, that at a time like this, we are still facing petrol queues after deregulation of the industry, after reduction in subsidy. So the Nigerians are paying a higher price and getting lower quantity. So for now, and that feeds into the food inflation number. But this is aberrational. But it's not just good, because this is avoidable. Let me put it as unavoidable. We are just shooting ourselves in the foot. Totally unnecessary. So what does it take? You program the shipments, you bring the quality of you assure yourself of the quality, and then you have it staggered over the period. We knew that there was Easter, there was Ramadan. And between the pricing, the supply, the logistics, the ordering, and all that. And all of this tied into the fact that the refineries are not functioning.
Equities market made a rebound on the second trading day today, and John Mekwa has the numbers.
Thank you so much, Melinda. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, for the first time in a while, we see the NGX closing in the green. The market gained 15 billion naira, and the all-share index is 0.35%. Doesn't look like much, compared to what we've lost in recent time, but we'll make do with it. So we are back up at 98,000, now 98,225.63 for the all-share index, and that 15 billion naira brought the market cap up to 55.55 trillion naira at the close of trade. This is thanks to MTN Nigeria. MTN Nigeria is a market mover for today. The share price went up about 4%. That's about 8 naira to close at 210 naira for MTN Nigeria. A good one right there. But I guess if you look at over time, the share price, you may not be so excited. And looking at the sectors, yesterday, Zenith Bank dragged the market down. Today, it is a contributor to bringing the market back up. So we see banking is looking so good, 1.7% as Zenith Bank, UBA, FBN Holdings, they did that to banking sector. Consumers Good is in the red, 0.80%, just like yesterday. Yesterday it was about 0.7%. While oil and gas, imagine. This is a sector that doesn't like moving, but Conrail did it today for it, 1.07% in the green for oil and gas. So for the first time in a very long time, the bull is here.
That's Business News. It's back to you, Ayotunde.
Many thanks, Melinda. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel will launch an invasion of the southern Gaza city of Rafah regardless of truce talks with Hamas. His comments follow renewed warnings by the U.S. against a Rafah invasion unless civilians were properly protected. Here's Simon Pusey with other international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A leaked document understood to have been written by Iranian security forces alleged that a teenager was sexually assaulted and killed by 3 men working for those forces. It has helped build a map of what happened to 16-year-old Nika Shakarami, who vanished from an anti-regime protest in 2022. Her body was found 9 days later. The government claims she killed herself. Iran's government and its Revolutionary Guards have not responded to the latest allegations. The US State Department has found 5 units of the Israeli military responsible for gross violations of human rights in individual incidents, but says they will continue to receive US military backing.
All of these were incidents much before October 7th, and none took place in Gaza.
The department says all the incidents involved took place outside of Gaza before the current war. Israel took corrective action in 4 units, giving additional information on the 5th. It means all the units remain eligible for US military assistance. Washington is Israel's major military backer, supplying it with $3.8 billion worth of weapons and defense systems per year. Officials say 4 law enforcement officers have been fatally shot and 4 others wounded while serving a warrant in Charlotte in North Carolina. Police said at least 1 suspected attacker was found guard of a barricaded home after a standoff that lasted 3 hours. Authorities said 2 armed suspects were involved. It is one of the deadliest assaults on US law enforcement in decades. The Kenya Red Cross says at least 76 people are still missing in the country amid a devastating deluge that has already claimed dozens of lives. People in villages near Mai Mahiu, about 60 kilometers from the capital Nairobi, were swept away as they slept. The incident occurred after water blew through a blocked tunnel underneath a railway line. About 50 people have been confirmed dead, with the Red Cross adding that 110 survivors have been rescued. A man has been arrested and several people have been stabbed, including 2 police officers, in a car and sword attack in northeast London. Footage shared on social media showed a man with a long knife or sword early in the morning. 5 people were treated at the scene in Hainault and have been taken to hospital. Eyewitnesses said they saw the suspect run through the area with a sword, and a group had tried to fight off the man before he was tasered by police.
You will be aware that a serious incident occurred here at this location this morning. Police and ambulance services were called and deployed to a number of casualties. It is with great sadness that I confirm that one of those injured in the incident, a 13-year-old boy, has died from their injuries. He was taken to hospital after being stabbed and sadly died a short while after. The child's family are being supported firstly by my local officers and now with some specialist officers, and everyone across the Met is keeping them in our thoughts at this unimaginably difficult time.
Zimbabweans will start using fresh banknotes and coins on Tuesday as the country rolls out its third currency in a decade. The currency, of which a digital version was launched earlier this month, is the latest attempt to control soaring inflation in the country. But there are signs the Zimbabwe gold, or ZIG, is already facing problems. A digital version has lost a quarter of its value against the US dollar on the black market. The ruins of an almost 300-year-old town have resurfaced as searing temperatures in the Philippines partially dried up a major dam. Pantabangan town was submerged in the 1970s to build a reservoir, but it emerges from the water on extremely rare occasions when the weather is dry and hot. It comes as almost half the country is experiencing a drought, with temperatures reaching highs in several areas. And King Charles has carried out his first major public engagement since his cancer diagnosis. The King, who has been named Cancer Research UK's new patron, and Queen Camilla visited a specialist cancer centre in London in support of staff, patients and ongoing research. A statement issued last week had a more positive message about his health. The King's doctors were said to be very encouraged by the progress made so far in his treatment for an unspecified form of cancer. And that's your latest news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Nigeria football followers have been reacting to the appointment of 1994 AFCON winner Finidi George as the head coach of the Super Eagles of Nigeria. The Nigeria Football Federation named Finidi as replacement for Portuguese Jose Peseiro, who left the role after the Africa Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire earlier this year.
Finidi George's appointment as Super Eagles head coach comes barely 2 months after the exit of Portuguese Jose Peseiro. Finidi George launched into the Nigeria football coaching system when he led Enyimba Football Club to their 9th Nigeria Premier League title in 2023. He was also a member of the Super Eagles technical crew to the African Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire. The 52-year-old was subsequently given the job on an interim basis, where he led the team in 2 international friendlies against Ghana and Mali in March. Football enthusiasts are excited that a Nigerian will lead the 3-time African champions once again.
I believe the kind of opportunity, the kind of freedom we give the foreign coaches. Let's try and do that with the Dinos coaches. Let's see what they can do over time. He's doing great with the Enyimba Football Club. He has been in the system, understudying Peseiro for some time, knowing some of the players before now. I think he's just one of the best options that we can ever get.
I would say good one to the NFF. At least for once, they've made Nigerians proud with such appointment, because a local coach coming to the Super Eagles gives the younger coaches, Nigerians, a sense of belief that one day they too can become Super Eagles coaches.
They believe the 1994 Africa Cup of Nations winner is qualified for the job.
He just a senior colleague, junior team, but I have opportunity to play against him when I was in MFM 2 years ago. I saw when we played them at Enyimba. That's when I respected him more. I respected him because the way they played against us, Finidi George is highly technical and tactical coach. But so that's why I have the belief that he can do wonders with the Super Eagles, this present Super Eagles.
For me, I believe in his expertise. You know, he has been in the team. He has experienced a lot of accolades with the team, and I feel he's the right person for the job. And well, in the coaching job or in any job at all, there's always challenges. So it's something that I feel he can be able to overcome.
Finidi is expected to fashion a winning formula for the Super Eagles ahead of their 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers against South Africa and Benin Republic in June.
Well, let's talk the Champions League now. Vinicius Jr. struck twice to earn Real Madrid a 2-0 draw at Bayern Munich in tonight's gripping Champions League semi-final first leg battle. The Brazilian forward fired Madrid ahead after 24 minutes before Leroy Sané and Harry Kane netted in 4 second-half minutes for host Bayern. But Vinicius left the tie finally post with a late equalizing penalty for Madrid. The draw puts Madrid in the driving seat ahead of next week's return leg at the Santiago Bernabeu. Today's sensation, Carlos Alcaraz. That's sports tonight. I'm Kelly Egiga. It's back to you today.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. The House of Representatives today resolved to summon the Minister of State for Petroleum, Oil, Heineken Lofobiri, and the Managing Director of the NNPC Limited, Mele Kyari, over the current fuel scarcity in the country. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel will launch an invasion of the southern Gaza city of Rafah, regardless of truce talks with Hamas. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. From all of us here, it's good night.